What's going on, everybody? It's SkyToon, and today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 most wanted things for Breath of the Wild 2. Be sure to stick around to the end of the video because my number one, what I want to see in Breath of the Wild 2 is going to blow your mind. Obviously, if you haven't done so already, time is ticking. Go ahead, smash that subscribe button to keep up with the channel, and like this video. Without further ado, let's get into it. Number 10. What happened immediately after Breath of the Wild? What I want to know is what exactly happened after Link saved Zelda from Calamity Ganon. Was there anything else? I know that they were together at the end and they were in the middle of Hyrule Field and that was it, but I want to know more. Did they go back to the castle? Did they talk about all of the champions and Zelda's father not being there anymore? What happened right after Link and Zelda were back together? Number 9. Where was Zelda during her battle with Ganon? Everyone at one point has tried to figure this out, and I don't think anybody has a for sure explanation. Where was Zelda during her fight with Calamity Ganon? She fought and held Calamity Ganon for 100 years so Link could come back and fight him. But where was she? A lot of people think that she was in that big round ball in the middle of the sanctum, and that could be the case, but where was her human form? Was she trapped inside of the beast himself, or was she maybe in a different reality trying to fight for her own life? I want to know what her story was for what happened in her eyes during the 100 years before Link reawoken and went on his quest to save her. Maybe she was in some room, maybe she was locked up, I don't know, but I hope we find out in Breath of the Wild 2. Number 8. Background on Zelda's mom. I want to know about Zelda's mom. We know about King Rome, and we know how he treated his daughter, that he just wanted her to keep training and not being an explorer, and awaken her powers so she could stop Calamity Ganon. But we never really knew too much about Zelda's mom. So it would be nice to have a little bit of a backstory about her and kind of see what the relationship was like between Zelda and her mom. I might be wrong, but I think there were journal entries about her mom just a little bit, but go dive a lot deeper, and rather than just journal entries and the occasional picture frame, give us some real detail about how she was in the past. Number 7. Can the champions come back? Now, hear me out, okay? I know that Age of Calamity has nothing to do with Breath of the Wild. It's an alternate timeline of what could have happened if things were changed the other direction, if things didn't work out how they did in Breath of the Wild. However, I am curious. We did see in Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity that the champions were saved. So it would make sense that the champions would stay in that timeline and help it, but it's already been helped. So what about the champions of that game? Even though I know it's not going to happen, I know it's not possible, but just speculating in a different sense, what if they came over to Breath of the Wild? Because now there's an even bigger threat, and we kind of need them back in their real form, not just in their spirit form anymore. Because at the end of Breath of the Wild, their spirit form, along with the king, disappeared, which means that they're no longer needed, they've fulfilled their duty on Earth, and that's it. But now we need some new protectors, so I'm wondering if their alternate timelines can come and kind of save the day in Breath of the Wild 2. Can we see a return of the champions? Or to think even deeper, maybe there's a way to make everybody that was long gone come back. Somehow trying to reverse the times and bring back all of the champions to help the current day Hyrule. Number 6. More enemies from past games, new ones, and the elemental ones from Age of Calamity. Now I know that we were just on the topic of Age of Calamity, fusing with Breath of the Wild 2, even though apparently that is not going to be a thing, but just something to think about. Could we see some new types of enemies? In past Zelda games, we've had different enemies than the ones that we've had in Breath of the Wild, and we've had newer enemies from, let's say, Age of Calamity. For the first time ever, as far as I know, we saw the elemental enemies like Bokoblins, Lynel, Hinox, Talus, anything else that I'm forgetting. We saw some different types of those same enemies. So can we see that in Breath of the Wild 2? Yes, I know we have red bokoblins and blue bokoblins and everything like that, but something more elemental to tie in with some kind of storyline that maybe it makes it a little bit more difficult to defeat them, and there's a little bit more strategy to the game. And if you're like me, and your first Zelda game was Breath of the Wild, then what about all of the other enemies in past games that we missed out on? Maybe bring some past enemies that can show up for the very first time in our open world Zelda game. Or even better, brand new enemies that we've never seen before. At least give us more of a challenge than Calamity Ganon. Please. Number 5. Could Astor be alive in Breath of the Wild 2? If you think about it, Eggwardo, aka Terracotta, the little egg guy, everybody likes him. Well, in Age of Calamity, he went from the Hyrule that we know to the Age of Calamity world, and blah 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 blah. My point here is that there was an Astor in that world that caused havoc. Now, was there an Astor in the world of Breath of the Wild? Maybe. Astor was a prophet that actually helped Calamity Ganon kind of get back on his feet and regain that power to be able to destroy Hyrule. My question is, can we see Astor in Breath of the Wild 2? Maybe he somehow survived the Calamity in Breath of the Wild's Hyrule. Many people assume that Astor went away from Hyrule Castle and saved himself while the Calamity wreaked havoc. Even though, again, Age of Calamity is canon, there is a slight chance that Astor could come back in Breath of the Wild 2. Number 4. Can we get a playable Zelda? It would be so cool to have a playable Zelda in Breath of the Wild 2. Whether you can play the game with a friend, or swap between Link and Zelda, while being able to fight Ganondorf and all of the other enemies in the game would be super cool. I would love to see Zelda in action versus just having her as a character in the story cutscenes, and this time being able to see her actual power and what she's capable of, since now she has her powers, and be able to take on all of the forces of evil left by the Malice. So please, Nintendo, show off a little bit of Zelda and give us a playable Zelda in Breath of the Wild 2. Number 3. Has Ganondorf really been underneath Hyrule Castle the entire time, and we just didn't know about it? And if so, I want to know the backstory of how he actually got there. There has to be a reason why there's suddenly a hand holding him down, and why he's this skeletal, undead figure below Hyrule Castle. I'm almost wondering if Calamity Ganon, since he showed up and formed at Hyrule Castle, if that was Ganondorf down below Hyrule Castle's energy and malice that was going out of his body. I wonder if that's the reason why Calamity Ganon became real. And if that's the case, then again, I want to know how the real Ganondorf got trapped below the castle, and if he was truly the cause, himself, his real life form, his human form, being the reason why Calamity Ganon wreaked havoc on all of Hyrule. Did he get up enough energy to finally unleash that? And if he succeeded and Zelda didn't try to stop him, maybe his form down below would be awoken? Or was it all part of a different plan, and they were two separate things that just happened to occur? I don't know, but I do very deeply believe that Ganondorf has always been below Hyrule Castle, making this bad stuff occur. Number 2. Can we pet the dogs? Obviously, you know that I want this for Breath of the Wild 2. I want to be able to pet the dogs. For so long, we've been able to feed the dogs and throw sticks and boomerangs and everything like that. But we can't just pet the dog. And I want that for Breath of the Wild 2. The very last idea and most important thing that I would love to see in Breath of the Wild 2 would be a bokoblin in a bikini. Thanks for watching!